Hello, how you going? My name's Sam from Core Electronics, and today I'm taking a look at the new controller, well newish, from 8BitDo, and here's the 8BitDo Zero controller, and it's really cool. So we're going to take a look at some of the specs, what my thoughts on it are, and what things make it unique from the rest of 8BitDo's lineup. Almost dropped it, not quite. So, 8BitDo, if you haven't heard of them before, they're a company who make recreations of really classic vintage gaming controllers. So they've already got controllers based on the NES and SNES controller systems, the Nintendo 64, and they've brought out versions of the NES and SNES, no, just the NES one, which have analog thumbsticks on it, which is pretty cool. Two completely analog thumbsticks, so you get that that analog movement and feeling rather than just a binary tap on a D-pad, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. And they've also got this little guy, and I say little in the truest sense of the word. It is the 8BitDo Zero. Let's take a look. Can you see that? It's my hands. I've got fairly normal sized hands, maybe a little largish, but it really is quite small, and it's very cool, and that's the first thing you notice about it. So before we get stuck into it, let's take a look at what's under the hood, some of the specs. So we've got a Bluetooth connectivity, as with all the 8BitDo controllers. It is 16 millimeters by 12.8 millimeters by 2.7 high. So it's incredibly small. There's a picture here of it compared to a 20-cent piece. Really, really tiny. Cool stuff. It's 50 grams, weighs next to nothing, 180 milliamp hour rechargeable battery. So rather than different size controllers having different battery lives, 8BitDo have gone for a really, a really streamlined approach where I think pretty much every controller has an 18 to 20 hour battery life, and this guy's no exception. 180 milliamp hours, very small battery, gets you that 18 hours of pretty much consistent playtime, and it's only a 1 to 2 hours charge time. So really, really nifty. It's just got a micro USB port for charging there, and at 180 milliamps, if you've got a portable power bank, portable battery, it's drawing next to no juice or something like that. So it just goes over and over and over. It's really cool. It's compatible with Windows, Android, and Mac OS. One of the biggest, sort of barriers for some of the 8BitDo gear is that they're not MFI, made for iOS or Apple's line of portable electronics. It's not MFI certified, which means it doesn't act like, a native Bluetooth controller you'd expect because of the really strict and closed loop method that Apple has for its devices, which works in some cases it doesn't. And here 8BitDo sort of got the raw end of the stick where their controllers won't work with all of the iOS games like they will in Android. Bit of a bummer there. There's a series called Arcade, which is sort of like a self-contained title of various games, a collection that it is designed to work with, but that's sort of slid by, particularly with some of the new iOS updates. I'm not sure if it's still available in the App Store, it may be, but it's not super popular, so support for iOS isn't great. But, can't have everything. So it operates as an X input or D input, direct input for the various Windows APIs and standards that are out there. So for example, an Xbox 360 controller works as an X input device, which has all these different features, vibration, separate joysticks, things like that. Whereas a direct input, I think, is an older platform. Few different standards, but it'll work with both, so no worries there. And then a Mac controller mode. The other cool thing is it's got a shutter mode, so you can connect it up, much like those Bluetooth remotes on the awful selfie sticks. Hey, all right, they're sort of cool, but same concept. You can use this to control the shutter, the camera shutter on your phone, which is really, really nifty. So you've got a D-pad, directional pad there, start and select buttons, and they're not actually labeled, which is a bit annoying, but starts on the right, selects on the left. A, B, X, Y. Doesn't follow the SNES layout, follows the an Xbox 360 layout, or if you convert the letters, the shapes into letters, then it would follow a PlayStation layout as well. And then you've got the two left and right bumpers on the top there. And I guess the first thing I want to take a look at is the usability of it. How usable is a controller that is this small? The answer is surprisingly very. It's pretty dang useful. Now, as I said, I've got maybe somewhat large hands, but nothing too out of the ordinary, and it fits quite comfortably. The biggest thing you've got to get used to is that it doesn't fit into the palm of your hand like you would, another full-size controller that you're used to. Instead, you hold it with your fingers. So I found holding it on my my fourth fingers there and using the index fingers there for the bumpers, and you've got your thumbs there for everything else. Works out pretty well, and if you keep nice and relaxed, I didn't find my hands were cramping up after a bit of decent gameplay. It's quite usable, which is really cool. I like that. Yeah, it works exactly the way it should, and they've got in the box, this is the box here. So one thing, when I got stuck into it, I saw it didn't have that same, nice matte laminate, super, nice looking packaging that the rest of the 8BitDo lineup has. It's just got this plastic wrapper with a cardboard insert on the inside. So, it's designed to be super affordable, and the actual controller does what it does so well. So a little bit off-putting perhaps if you're used to the standard 8BitDo stuff, but not a deal breaker, I'd say. It comes with a little cloth lanyard, which I replaced with a metal keychain to put on my keys, because it is so small. I can clip this guy on and it fits comfortably in your pocket. It's really, really, really neat. And it comes with, they call it a micro USB cable. It's a micro USB cable, probably more of a dongle, if anything. But hey, it's good for connecting up to your computer. And again, not to nitpick, it's a really small detail, but you plug it into the USB port and the controller actually faces down. In hindsight, could have been better if it was rotated 180 degrees, and because it is a flat cable, it doesn't rotate as easily as a standard, circular diameter cable. But look, again, not a huge deal, I'm just nitpicking there. So, usability, check. Very usable, although it's not going to be as comfortable as a full-size controller. It's designed that if you're on the train or on a bus, you can grab it out, play something on your phone, just, grab a couple and play with some friends on a computer, that sort of thing. Not for serious gaming, of course. But again, super, super cool. So the build quality. Again, I mentioned the packaging. I was sort of, is this going to be as good as their other ones? Because the build quality of 8BitDo generally is fantastic, really nicely designed. Buttons that are responsive, feel like the genuine, vintage controller, like you've just unboxed it. So really, really cool there. And stoked to say it is as good. It feels as good. There's no sponginess here in the buttons, no sort of sound when you're pressing them, but they're responsive. They've got a really nice tactile click to them. The D-pad, it responds really well no matter where you press it. So if you press it right on the edge versus in a bit more, you still get a really nice clicky response. Bumpers, audible click there, start and select, standard buttons. So it works really well. Nothing soft about the controls on this guy. They're not rubberized. If you're if that's your thing, they're just the same plastic as the shell. But hey, you can't have everything, and I think they're pretty cool. And the build quality is quite good. As I said, there's no flex, probably because it's such a small device. There's no flex that way. And if you're pressing it on the back, the shell doesn't really bend or give at all. So it's a nice thick casing on there, which is good, despite the diminutive proportions, which is cool. So connecting it is as easy as any other 8BitDo device. You hold start for 2 seconds and it'll turn on. So press start there and you can see there's a blue light that will come on, and it will just blink slowly when it's not connected to anything but it's on. And as you saw there for a moment, it will blink rapidly when it's in pairing mode looking for a device. And I've got this connected up to the laptop at the moment here. I had it on a Raspberry Pi running RetroPie before, and it goes a solid blue when it is connected, and we'll stay on there. And then to turn it off, you just press and hold the start button again for 2 seconds. It'll blink green to let you know that it's powering off, and then light turns off. And then to put it in the pairing mode, you press and hold select. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Very, very cool, very easy to connect, and we'll have a separate tutorial up for all of the different connection modes, what button combinations you need to press to get into this mode and that mode for all the 8BitDo controllers, so check that out if you're looking for that. And if you want to know a bit more about the 8BitDo controllers in general, how to pair them with RetroPie, how to configure the controller mapping in a RetroArch system, everything like that, then check out those specific tutorials. I'll put a link in there which goes to our RetroPie category with all the 8BitDo stuff in there. And I'll put some stuff up here on the LED status mode, so just as a quick reminder, so when it's flashing red, the battery's low. When it's flashing green, it'll be charging, so on and so forth. So my final thoughts are, it is awesome. I got one as a review, sat down, had 10 minutes with it, and bought this one, made it my own, put it on my keychain because it's super handy. It's so much fun to have just such a little little game controller. Even as I'm speaking, I can't stop playing around with it because it's really neat. And 8BitDo are updating. They are updating the firmware all the time for these guys. So there's support, I believe, now for the Nintendo Switch, all sorts of different platforms because they just do use Bluetooth. So upgradable firmware. Again, there's a tutorial for that. So check that out. If you get one of these, they'll be up on the website really soon. If not now, then let us know your thoughts. I'd love to hear, what you guys are using them for. If you wanna, you could, definitely hook this up to, an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi or something like that and use it to control a robot or a platform, some sort of project you got on. So heaps of possibilities beyond just a gaming pad. That's all for now, guys. Check out some of our other 8BitDo and RetroPie tutorials, and I'll see you later.